have our personal favorite collection of games that we love to play to an extent. And luckily for us, most of the times these titles transform into full-fledged franchises, get pretty much needed reboots or creative remakes. However, other times we don't get anything and we end up asking for new installments, but it seems game companies don't listen to us. So today, I will count down the games I want to see being made the most. They can be sequels, reboots, remakes, etc. I mean, I really hope these titles are real someday. I would sure pay a lot of money just to get them. And I am sure I wouldn't be the only one. There is only one real rule for this list. No games that are already confirmed or that we just know that they will be made. So no Kingdom Hearts 3, Doom 4 or Half-Life 3, even if I don't give a fuck about the last one. Please keep in mind that these are the games I personally would like to see made, not the general public, so please respect my opinion, even if it's never going to happen. Well, there is nothing left to say, so let's take a look at my top 10 most wanted video game sequels, remakes or reboots. And yes, I wish I had a better title for this. If there is a video game developer I came to admire, is none other than Naughty Dog. No, not only because they created one of my favorite video game franchises, but also because of the interesting way they grew up with us. That's right, in a similar fashion to Harry Potter movies, Naughty Dog made even more mature games with time. They started with Crash Bandicoot, a simple yet effective platformer that was accessible for little kids of every age. Then they moved on to Jak and Daxter, which were more mature games, but they still kept an atmosphere that suited teen audiences. Their next trilogy was Uncharted, or as some people call it, the Indiana Jones of gaming, which were even more mature games in its content and story. Now their next step will be The Last of Us, a game that only true adults will be able to play. Haha, fuck the kids! God, that sounded way better in my head. So, as you can see, Naughty Dog grew up with its audience, since a kid who was born in the 90s and played Crash, now is probably a young adult that can enjoy The Last of Us. However, if there is something I must criticize, is the way they never come back to revive old franchises. Don't get me wrong, making new series is always the best thing to do, but how come that we're not getting new installments after so many years? The number 10 spot is not for Crash, because I understand that Naughty Dog can do nothing about that, since they never owned the license of the series. But what about Jak and Daxter? After the main trilogy and 2 spin-offs, this series died just in front of us. There were so many questions left unanswered in Jak 3 that it's just an insult that we won't see in another main series game, especially when it comes down to knowing more about the mysterious Dark Makers who were trying to destroy the world, or if Gold and Maya will ever return. When it comes to gameplay, I hope to do something similar to Jak 3, with creative and destructive weapons, adult elements and plot, colorful presentation, fun platforming based on dark and light power-ups, incredible boss fights, and since this is Naughty Dog that we are talking about, I am sure they will find a way of improving the gameplay with new creative ideas for it. Case in point, we need Jak 4. Heck, this franchise is the icon of Naughty Dog evolving, seen as the first game was a kids platformer, while the next titles were dark platformers / shooters. Ratchet & Clank and Sly Cooper, which are considered franchise brothers to Jak, are still releasing new games, so there is no real reason for not making a new title in the series. Maybe we'll have luck after The Last of Us. Back in 2007, an exciting news came to existence. A Mario and Sonic game was announced. Sadly, it was not a platformer crossover, but just a minigame collection of the 2 mascots at the Olympic Games. Whoa, now that I think of it, most crossovers of popular platforming mascots end up as minigame collections. The title itself was fun and all, but was this the real crossover we were all waiting for? I don't think so. I mean, Mario and Sonic were console rivals during the 90s, and we never thought we were going to see them together. When we finally did, it was at the Olympic Games. What the fuck? Yeah, later they both appear in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, redeeming Sega and Nintendo a little bit, but not enough since it was followed by more minigame collections with both mascots. So, at number 9, I will say I want to see a true crossover game between Mario and Sonic. What I'm saying here is that it has to be a real platforming adventure, not just a bunch of minigames about the Olympic Games. We could have insanely fast segments in the Mushroom Kingdom with Sonic, where he uses the crazy power-ups of the Mario series. Meanwhile, our Italian plumber will try to gather the Chaos Emeralds in the eccentric levels of Sonic with its interesting bosses and characters. Of course, the plot would have to be an alliance between Eggman and Bowser, two excellent villains. Oh god, all these ideas are so good! I am throwing my money at the screen but nothing is happening! In the last Nintendo Direct, Iwata announced that they just made a deal with Sega to make new games. They showed off the new Olympic Games title and a new Sonic platformer called Lost World. Maybe after these two games we will see a Sonic and Mario true crossover? I will keep my fingers crossed. If there is a game I love to death, it's Pokémon Snap. It's one of my favorite of all time, one of my favorite N64 games, and my most nostalgic video game. I always talk about it, like in that audition for Fawful's Minion, and that spot in my underrated games list. Okay, yeah, maybe not that much. Anyways, so Pokémon Snap is a very immersive and solid title, with a creative premise and enjoyable gameplay. But I do think it's similar to the original Super Smash Bros. In many ways. What do I mean by this? Well, let's just say I think both were experiments. They didn't know if Pokémon Snap was going to be a huge success because of its weird premise, so they didn't add many things to it. A few Pokémon, few power-ups, few levels to play in. However, even if both Super Smash Bros. And Pokémon Snap were hits, this one never got a sequel. Pokémon fans have been asking for it since forever, and it seems that now the Wii U was made for Snap 2. I mean, look at all those games that use both the gamepad and the TV screen for its gameplay. I think we can all imagine Pokémon Snap 2 on Nintendo's new console, with the controller being used as camera while you take pictures on the screen. Now there are almost 650 Pocket Monsters that could be in this game. Why not including every one of them? I understand why they only used a few Gen 1 Pokémon in the original Snap, since this was the first spin-off of the series. But now everybody loves Pokémon, and every one of them should be used for Snap 2, with tons of new stages and new power-ups. Just create it with the astounding graphic potential of the Wii U and you got yourself a game for the ages. Now, I don't know if there are any chances we will ever see Pokémon Snap 2 as a reality, but Nintendo often listens to its fans, so I can hope they have the idea in mind, especially with all the potential it has with the Wii U. It's time to make a gamer confession. When I was a kid, I used to play the shit out of the Tycoon series of games. What is Tycoon exactly? Simple, it's a simulation series of games in which you can create your own zoo, similar to Roller Coaster Tycoon. I always loved animals and I have good memories of going to the Buenos Aires Zoo when I was a kid. So when I heard there was a game in which you had to create and administrate your own, I got my hands on it very quick. While the first one and its expansions were amazing, my heart is for Zoo Tycoon 2, which was fully in 3D. You could go in first person mode to visit your own zoo, and it had way more animals and attractions for the visitors. Heck, it's so awesome I bought the 4 expansions of Zoo Tycoon 2, with my favorites being Marine Mania and Extinct Animals, in which you could have motherfucking dinosaurs in your zoo. But I digress. You know that my 7th wish on this list is basically Zoo Tycoon 3. The last expansion for the second one was in 2007, and trust me, I am no PC gamer, but I would buy a gaming computer just to play Zoo Tycoon 3. This series, alongside Roller Coaster Tycoon, is one of the most iconic in the simulations genre. We can't let it die just like that. To be honest, I haven't played Zoo Tycoon in a while to say which things they can add or improve. Right off the bat, I should mention the obvious ones, like better graphics, more animals, more attractions, innovative new ways of creating your zoo, I want everything 100% new stuff! Oh, and expansion packs used to be a great way to improve the game by paying a little bit more. We will definitely see a Marine Mania 3 and Extinct Animals 3, but I can't wait to see which new ideas they have for them. I personally want a pack with fantasy animals. That would be a nice touch. I would have a unicorn on my zoo and name her Twilight Sparkle, hahaha! It's obvious that they will stick with DLC, but I hope expansion packs will also be available as a disc in a box. Again, I haven't played CT in a while, but if Blue Fang and Microsoft make a third installment, it may be enough to make me love it as much as I used to when I was a kid. Oh, and I hope the game is very easy to hack and mod, since most of the Tycoon 2 mods are fucking amazing. Look at all those dinosaurs, I freaking love it! When it comes to annoying console wars, one of the main arguments people use against Nintendo is saying that they are selling the same games after 30 years, blah 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 blah, given how they created franchises back in the 80s that are still a huge success to this very day. But let me interfere and say that's complete bullshit. Okay, yes, Nintendo mostly relies on old franchises rather than developing something new, but that doesn't mean these series are copy and paste, like, I don't know, FIFA! Yes, FIFA! What? Do you expected me to say Call of Duty? Bitch, please! After 30 years, Nintendo managed to make every installment new and better than the others. Play Super Mario Bros. And then play Super Mario Galaxy. Play The Legend of Zelda and switch to Skyward Sword. Play Pokémon Red and Blue and then Black and White too after that. It won't be hard to tell they came a long way since those times. But I have to agree somewhere in these arguments. With a company as creative like Nintendo, how is that we didn't see a new franchise since Pikmin in 2002? I know this doesn't count as a sequel, a reboot or a remake, but it's going on the list anyways. Here is the deal. Nintendo franchises are like their safe way nowadays. They know that if they release new games of this series, they will manage to sell a lot because of some gamers' nostalgia and good taste in gaming. But come on guys, is it really that hard to create a new IP? This company managed to create some of the most imaginative and beloved series in gaming history. Why don't you make more? Our master and savior Shigeru Miyamoto said he was interested in creating a new IP, and I honestly can't wait to see what the creator of Mario and Zelda has inside that amazing mind. Also, there was a cancelled hack and slash game that was being made by Nintendo called Project HAMMER, that spells hammer for all the little kids in my audience, that looked very promising. Again, Nintendo is a company with imagination and a lot of effort in its games, and creating a brand new franchise that will mark history alongside Mario, Zelda, Pokémon, Metroid and even more could be a genius idea. I hope you think about it, Nintendo. The moment you hear the word Rockstar, you know the GTA series will be talked about. And why not? Grand Theft Auto revolutionized the industry with huge worlds where you can do absolutely everything. Every game in this franchise is better than the last one and...
Stop it, Julian! I pronounced it right! Stop it!
What's wrong, Stelios?
This whole Rockstar speech is completely pointless! The moment you bring up that company, we all know you're gonna talk about this game. You should say bully here.
God damn it, you British nutcase! Thanks for breaking this build-up, by the way.
Hey, no problem, my Argentine friend. Stelios breaking build-up since 1998!
Get it? He makes a cameo because of his segment in top 10 PS2 games. Haha! Anyways, so Bully 2. Some of my most loyal fans should already know how much I adore Rockstar's masterpiece, Bully Canis Canem Edit. A controversial title about anarchy and social chaos in a school. Interesting characters, a huge world, engaging story, this game has almost everything. Since it was made by one of the most popular gaming companies, it's no doubt that Bully sold pretty well. So that leads me to ask, how is that we never saw a sequel for it? I mean, this title managed to create a fairly big fanbase and every single fan is asking for a sequel. I want it, you want it, he wants it, Everybody wants to see a Bully 2. What it could be about? Well, I pictured the setting to be in Bullsworth Academy 20 years later after the events of the first game. The school is now a calm place, but the society is still divided into cliques. We would obviously see the bullies, the nerds, the greasers, the jocks, the preppies and the townies again. But will Rockstar add a new one? That would be a very interesting idea. We would play as Jimmy Hopkins' son, and your life at the academy will be great as you are the child of the school savior himself. But anarchy and chaos will begin when another student starts messing up everything, as it is revealed that he's Gary Smith's son. Hey, this is my idea for a plot in Bully 2. Let's see what you can come up with! I am imagining a bigger world than in the original game, with more classes to attend, new areas to explore, and just a little bit more of everything we already experienced. As I already said, Bully 2 is a game the industry needs. We need it to show how Rockstar games can have a compelling story with mature themes and execution. A huge overworld as big as any GTA title, and just a lot of fun over at Bullsworth Academy would be a great new experience. Maybe we'll have luck after GTA 5? Only time will tell. Okay guys, excuse me, but I gotta talk about the game I never seem to shut up about. I said game, not game series. Well, I meant an underrated game I never shut up about. But I just talked about that one in the last segment. Okay, yes, I get it. There are a lot of games I should stop talking about. Screw this build-up. War of the Monsters 2. Oh yeah, here is a classic one. The incredible hidden gem for the PlayStation 2, War of the Monsters. A unique fighting game which parodies classic monster movies with its characters and settings, like Godzilla, King Kong and even more. As you could tell, I'm a huge kaiju fan and I immediately fell in love with this game the moment I got my hands on it. With a creative and destructive combat system, enormous environments, and original creatures, War of the Monsters quickly became one of my favorites. And who created this awesome fighter? Well, it was none other than Incognito Entertainment, creators of Twisted Metal. While this company doesn't exist anymore, their other franchise is still alive because Sony still owns the license, so they most likely own the license for War of the Monsters as well. Oh, and most of the creators are working for other companies, so it's pretty obvious that they could make a sequel. But I gotta be honest, this game didn't sell really well, but it managed to be a cult classic and gather a good amount of fans who would love another installment. Just think about all the new stuff they could add. The old monsters could get badass redesigns while we see how extremely creative new characters are introduced. The story mode, that was shit in the original game, could be improved with a better plot and different missions for each character. Throw in even bigger stages to fight on and more incredible bosses, and you got yourself a recipe for perfection. I am dead serious here. War of the Monsters is one of the best kaiju fighters out there, and if I die before I see a sequel for it, I will die as a sad person. Okay, maybe I exaggerated a little bit there, but who cares? War of the Monsters 2 may be a good enough reason to buy a PlayStation 4. That's how bad I want it. Love makes you do desperate things, people. And here we have another one I should probably stop talking about, Shadow of the Colossus, which is one of the most breathtaking adventures I've ever experienced in any video game. It's artistic and blah 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 blah, yeah, you know where this is going. I made this speech like 5 times already, but I always wanted to address one of this game's flaws. No, it's not the empty overworld, but it's the fact that I think that it really doesn't have many bosses, and for a game centered around them, it's pretty disappointing. Don't get me wrong, these 16 Colossi are a joy to fight, and even the ones I don't like that much have something interesting about them, but I always wanted to see more, so I can honestly say I want another Shadow of the Colossus game. Although I'm not pretty sure if it should be a sequel or a prequel, but as long as it has more incredible and epic bosses to fight, I will sure be happy. But what keeps this just as number 3, trust me, I really wanna see this being made, is that the charm in Shadow of the Colossus story was the mystery behind it. Who is Wonder? What is his relationship with Mono? How and why did Lord Emon defeated Dormin? How did he create the Colossi? Spoiler alert, what will happen to Wonder after he turned into a baby? Granted, I would like to know a lot of things that were left unanswered, but the atmosphere of mystery made me think that maybe I don't want to know all the truth behind this game. But heck, they could just make another game with different characters and settings, and just create a new plot as an excuse to fight more and more Colossi. Throw in some new weapons and gadgets to do so, and I would buy that shit right now. But the creators of Shadow of the Colossus are currently working on The Last Guardian, a game that I will never know if it's gonna be released. And they do seem more interested in creating new ideas rather than making franchises. So I highly doubt this will ever happen. But hey, a guy can dream, right?
And before I go, I have a message for Activision. Stop making Call of Duty games and make something with Crash Bandicoot. Crash is not dead, he's just there, waiting for Activision to do something with him. If we show ourselves optimistic, maybe we will hear us and make more Crash games with the old style gameplay.
I am Obsidious fan, and make another Crash Bandicoot game, Activision! Enough said. Okay, not really. Crash Bandicoot is one of the most beloved video game franchises ever. Many people grew up with it, and I am no exception. Crash was Sony's mascot for a long time, and he was one of the industry's icons during the 90s. And now he's just dead? Granted, the Crash series had a jumpy development since the license passed from publisher to publisher, and now it's finally in the hands of Activision. After the last main Crash game in 2008, we never saw a major installment again, and for a series as important as this one, it's downright insulting. Is that Activision just does not care for this Bandicoot and his friends anymore? Well, if they don't, then give the license to somebody else, but please don't let this series die! Oh, and let's not forget, in the last years there has been a lot of information on Crash games that were cancelled by Activision, with the most notable being Crash Bandicoot 2010, and that is disgusting. I am dead serious, this franchise means a lot to me, and I would buy any console just to play a brand new reboot, even an Xbox One. Yes, I am that desperate. If you ask me, it should be a 3D platformer similar to the old titles in the franchise. Wait, don't get me wrong, I love the Titans games despite all the hate they received, but it was just an experiment by Radical Entertainment. If the Bandicoot is going to come back, it should be in the way we all remember him. Sweet, but simple 3D platforming with a lot of variety. But I gotta be honest, in the cancelled Crash 2010, it seems as he can use some new items and weapons. If it's done right, that could be a very interesting idea. Hey, if this reboot becomes real, I really wanted to have something unique and original added to the classic formula, rather than seeing the overused warp room system again. Oh, and the characters should have a good redesign, like Into Insanity and unlike Titans. I am sure a lot of you are shocked to see Crash Bandicoot Reboot is just a number 2, since I've said I want it really bad many times. But that doesn't change the fact that we need him to make a satisfying comeback. Everybody thinks this series is dead, but I will never lose hope. It's iconic, it's beloved, the games are a lot of fun. Please listen to the fans, Activision! But which game I wanna see made even more? Well, let's just skip the recap and go straight to number 1. Wow, we are near the end of this countdown already? You may be wondering which game I want to see being made even more than the revival of the Crash Bandicoot series. Well, this may come out as a shocker for most of you, since I've never talked about this game before, but I still really want to see this as a reality someday. Ladies and gentlemen, Psychonauts 2. Oh, Psychonauts! What a magnificent overlooked video game. This is one of the best video games I've ever played. Right there with the Ocarina of Time, Okami, and Shadow of the Colossus. It's that good. I mean, just look at it and you will know why it's so amazing. Psychonauts was developed by Tim Schafer, creator of the Monkey Island series. It has one of the most unique art styles I've ever seen, and it honestly reminds me of Tim Burton. is a platformer in which you control a psychic boy named Rasputin, and you can use different psychic techniques to solve puzzles and kill enemies. Most levels take place inside the minds of different interesting characters, and you have to cure them from mental diseases. The story is engaging, the characters are lovable, the writing is hilarious, the overworld is huge, the music is excellent, and gosh do I love this game! So why is this at number 1? Why I wanna see a sequel for Psychonauts being made more than any other virtual experience? Well, there are many reasons. First of all, this game didn't sell really well despite having good reviews and scores by critics. Secondly, all these new gameplay mechanics and astounding level designs are so fresh that they still have a lot of potential to it. Lastly, the game had an open ending. I want to know what happened to Raz and his friends. It's kinda unfair if you think about it. In an industry that shits out sequels just to make more money, amazing games like War of the Monsters, Bully or Psychonauts are left as one-hit wonders, and that depresses me a little. When it comes to Psychonauts, it has been hard just to think about the possibility. Tim Schafer admitted he wanted to make a sequel, then Notch offered a good amount of money to do it, but it was revealed they needed $18 million to make it possible, and everyone just forgot about it. I recall reading a clever YouTube comment that said, I would eat my own arm for a sequel to Psychonauts, and I just have to agree, so let's start chewing our own bodies if we wanna see this as a reality, people. I am Obsidious fan, and I refuse to leave this world until I see a sequel to Psychonauts. Thanks for watching, and before I go, I wanna say this. Did you notice that, despite the title of the video, there were no remakes on this list?
I mean, you can leave a complaint in the complaint box, but I don't check that shit!